Hi everyone, it's Wirt. I come to you today on this port of GM Big City to bring you something that I think is kind of incredible. The Pelican, one of Halo's most iconic vehicles, is now flyable in Bonelab. Specifically, the Halo 3 iteration of the Pelican, which is my personal favorite. Just take a seat, grab this throttle control, and pull the trigger. Intensity of the trigger pull controls the strength of the thrust, and the angle of this lever controls the pitch. And this lever turns the engines, which has an impact on the yaw and roll. You can even hear the sound of the Pelican's engines straight out of Halo 3 whirring behind you as you fly. Now, you may be wondering, flyable? How? There are no flying vehicles in Bonelab. And you would be right. Unlike the Warthog, which could just be based off of the go-kart, there is no in-game system for controlling any kind of mid-air vehicle. Patch 2 added this helicopter to the sprint bridge level, but that's actually not a vehicle. It's more of a sentry turret that moves around on a set path in the air. So I had to get creative. There is one asset in Bonelab that I could think of that enables flight: the Nimbus gun. To oversimplify for a second, I basically just took a Nimbus gun and stretched it over the Pelican model. If this were a smaller, simpler vehicle, that would be the biggest problem to solve, and this would be the end of the video. But the Pelican is just an absolute behemoth of a vehicle. When I first loaded this thing into VR, I was literally awe-stricken by the absolute size of this lad. It's big. And to add to the problem, the Pelican has these 4 separate engines that can pivot according to how the pilot steers. I was able to achieve the same effect, more on that later, but at the cost of the whole game object now consisting of multiple rigid bodies, all linked together with configurable joints. This creates a mass distribution problem, where the Pelican wants to constantly pitch upward. Grabbing the Nimbus gun causes the player and the Pelican hull to become essentially weightless, but this doesn't affect the attached bodies. So the wheels and engines would pull the tail end of the vehicle towards the ground. I ultimately got around this by applying this balloon property to the rear engines, making it so the whole vehicle has close to neutral air buoyancy while piloting. Consequently, you can perform a near vertical takeoff, which is ideal since the Pelican's engine configuration is meant for VTOL. Now's a good time to mention how the engine controls work. I initially tried to get them to move in response to a lever or joystick using a powered joint, similar to some of the controls you encounter throughout Bonelab's campaign. At best, I was able to get these scripts to do absolutely nothing, and at worst, I crashed the game. So again, I got creative, and decided to try using the ATV script, which is normally meant for a whole vehicle, just for the steering wheel to axle to wheel relationship that it creates. In total, there are 3 ATV scripts present on this Pelican. One main one, which handles the ground controls and steering, then 2 more, each rotated at opposing 90-degree angles so that the engines steer up and down instead of left and right. Then, the 2 auxiliary steering wheels are joined to the main one. This way, the player controls 3 separate axles from a single grip. On to some more subtle details that I hope go appreciated. When you grab the throttle, the Pelican takeoff animation is played. This brings in the landing gear and closes the rear hatch, something you are not likely to even notice just messing around in single player. And, unlike in Halo, the colliders move with the animations, allowing you to fly about with whatever you want trapped inside. Something you are likely to notice is the door going into the cockpit opens automatically as you approach. This is handled using something called Ult Events, which is a Unity plugin that is used by Bonelab and can be used in mods as well to add basic event triggers and responses. In this case, I use a Trigger Events 3D to play an open animation when the player enters this volume, and a close animation when the player leaves. Neat. And one last little detail, all the jump seats here work as actual seats, so you can have a whole bunch of passengers sitting wherever they want. I wanted to get this out in time for the holidays, so even though it sounds like there's already a lot going on, I have quite a bit more planned for the future. First off, mid-air steering does not currently work so great. You can get some pretty spectacular takeoffs, but once you're in the air, it is difficult to avoid going into a spin. I think I can improve this just by playing around with the Nimbus grip. So look out for updates. Also, the co-pilot seat does not currently serve a point. I don't want to say too much, but I have plans for this as well. And since I didn't create any of these assets, I just ported them all over from Halo 3. The animations, the models, all of it. So I don't have a Unity equivalent of the engine thruster effects. These will have to come in a future update. Despite the jank, it is kind of mind-blowing flying this thing. Never would I have imagined that I'd be piloting one of my favorite Halo vehicles around a Gary's mod map in virtual reality. But here we are. And that's going to be it for now. If you appreciate what I'm doing, you can help me out by leaving the video a like or even sharing it with someone who you think may be interested. I'm always working on more mods, so if you don't want to miss those, remember to subscribe. I'm WordAC. This has been another mod release video. See you in the next one.